Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello crafters, today we're going to make a tilt and sway card and we're going to use the tropical patterned card set, and I picked this up in Lidl about 2 weeks or so ago now, and it's got great coloured cardstock in it as well as some pattern paper. They're all single-sided. There's images which are double-sided, so this would be great for a spinner card or a wiper card. And I have cut some images out. I've cut a parrot out from here, and again more of the beautiful patterned paper. So this is the paper that I've already taken out, and I've used this in my card. I've also taken out a light green plain card, and I have cut this down to make my card base, which you can see here. So this card base that I'm going to use is a 12 by 6 card base, and we score it then at 6, and that'll give us a 6 by 6 card base. Now you can have this as a top folding card or a side folding card. My preference is a side folding card because I feel when it's stood up on a mantelpiece or a shelf or whatever, it's not going to slide open with some weight. So I just find it sits better, but that's me. You can have it any orientation you like. I also have this piece of white cardstock, and it's 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that's going to go inside this here. Now I know it's white inside. I'm adding this 300 GSM card just to give strength to my card base, because we'll have some elements on the front and I want to make sure it's going to sit nicely and be well balanced. This piece of pattern paper measures the same as the white. It's 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that's going to sit on the front of our card base. Now we're going to put some foam tape behind that and put that on to allow movement at the back for our mechanism. This piece that I have here, it's the same as the card that I've used for my card base. I've taken some dies. I have these Creative Expressions craft dies by Sue Wilson, and they're the hills and clouds dies, but you could just cut your kind of hill shape yourself. So this piece is 5 3/4, and you can have it any height you want. I think my one is about just over 3 inches in height. So that's going to sit on the front of our card base down at the bottom, and I'm going to put foam tape around the two sides and bottom, but you really only need foam tape on the two sides. So this is our little mechanism. It doesn't look like much, but it's what we're going to use for our tilt and sway. This piece measures 3.5 by 1/2 inch, and I have just marked it there. It's a little above center. So at the 2-inch mark, I have marked it just in the middle because I want to punch out a little hole there. And that I'm going to do using this. It's the XCut punch. And this has 3 different sizes that you can punch out, and you can punch it out anywhere on your page. And you can see there the little bits just fall out through the bottom. You can see here at the top there are 2 more little cutters that you can use. One is a teeny tiny one, and then the other one is the biggest one. So it has 3 different sizes, 3 different size holes that it will punch out. So I want to make sure that I punch my hole there, and I've used the middle size one for that. Okay, next I have a little parrot, and this is one of the double-sided parrots that was on the sheets, and I fussy cut out around that. And it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. I've just done my best to keep it even. And then I have this. It's a happy birthday sentiment, and this sentiment is by Card Making Magic, and it's from the 6x6 collection. So you get your shadow die, you can see it there, as well as your happy birthday words. So you can use 2 together, or you can just put your happy birthday words on. And I'm going to do the 2 together. I want it to tilt and sway like this on the front of my card. I'm planning on putting my little parrot there. I'll either put him on the right side or put him on the left side. And I've also fussy cut out some different leaves from the patterned paper that I have there on the background. I'm going to use them to embellish the front of the card. I have a 5 cent or a penny, whichever you want to use, and I've got a little glue dot on the back of it, and this is going to sit on the bottom here. This is the weight for our pendulum, and you can see there below is our penny, and above that is where we're going to put our happy birthday. You'll need also a 5mm brad, or whatever brad you have in your stash. That's what's going to allow our pendulum to swivel and give it our tilt and sway. I have a green Papercraft Society ink, some glue dots, and I'll also use a blue one. So I have this little bit of self-healing mat that I use when I'm using my punch, because I don't want to punch or mark the mat that is on my table. So I'm taking my XCut punch and I'm going to punch that down in the center of this strip at the little mark that we did at 2 inches. And it doesn't have to be perfect. As close to center as you can get is fine. Now I'm going to stick my little 5-cent coin onto that. So I'm just going to try and make sure that my coin is centered on the piece. Now you can have this strip as long or as short as you want. This just happens to be the length that I've decided on here. So you can see there where the hole is, we need to put our brad through. So I'll need to punch another hole onto our patterned paper with the leaves there in the background. And we want to make sure that that's centered in there. I also want to make sure when I put this green piece that I have in my hand on over our patterned paper piece, I need to make sure where the hole is there for our brad, that is underneath our hill. Now I have my happy birthday here, and I'm going to stick that down in a little while, but that's going to be stuck down onto our strip at the top. And then as you can see there, our little hill will go along there. So I need to make sure that I pull the penny down enough that it's going to hide my brad. And then I'll be able to put my happy birthday then on the piece that's sticking up above it. And you can use anything. It's just if the brad is above, you'll see the brad. So the idea is to hide that behind something. Now you can see there'll be room at the bottom for me to put foam tape along the sides and bottom, but you won't really need to if you don't want to. So I've just got an idea there of where I want to punch my hole, because the brad is going to go through our strip with the penny, it's going to go through our patterned paper, and then we'll open the brad up behind our patterned paper. So I'm just making sure that I have it in place where I want it, and you'll be able to make sure it's in place on the piece you want. So I'm just looking there and having an idea of how far up and how far in it is. But again, as much as I'm using the ruler there, I was going to give you measurements. It just depends on how tall your hills are going to be, or what you're going to use to cover up. But as long as your piece covers up where you're putting your strip with your brad, that's the important part of this. Okay, so again, I've put my little piece of mat behind my pattern paper, and I'm going to again punch a little hole in this, and I find this punch is brilliant for punching a hole. Now I didn't press down hard enough here. I was kind of holding on to the bottom and didn't allow it instead of holding the paper. But there you go, it's punched through no problem. And that punch is really good. It'll go through a couple of layers as well. Okay, so now I have my little brad. I'm going to pop that through there. And then I'm going to open the legs of the brad at the back. Now I recommend that you take a little pokey tool or something. That's what I'm going to do here. And actually press the brads down over the pokey tool. And the reason for that is it allows our little penny, our strip with the penny on it, it allows movement. So we have an effect here, a pendulum little mechanism. So now, depending on how far we want our pendulum to move, we'll need to put some foam on the back. But on the back of our patterned paper, I'm also going to use some foam, and that's just to allow the legs of the brads to move around, so our pendulum can move around. So I'm going to put some foam tape on all four sides, and then I'm going to put a little foam tape then in and around the brad, but I will keep it away enough so that I can, allow the brad to move. Perfect, so that'll be able to sit on our card base, and it'll be stable because we've added some, the extra little bit of foam tape in and around the brad. Okay, so our penny is there now, and we can see we've room at the bottom to add a strip of foam tape, and we're going to put some foam tape at the side. Now you can see there, I'm moving that little white piece over and back. So although I don't do it here, I don't add extra foam tape, I will do that later. But first what I want to do is take some of my ink, and I'm going to embellish my little hill by putting a bit of depth and dimension on it and blending on some of our green ink. And you can see here I'm using my blending brush to blend that on. You can use whatever you have in your stash. And I've also got a sheet of A4 paper that I laminated, that way I can wipe it off when I'm done. Now I'm using my Misty to stamp my sentiment, and in this I'm going to stamp in blue. I was going to go with the green, but I decided the blue will look better because it'll pick up the blue in the happy birthday as well as the blue in our parrot. So I'm going to double stamp that just to make sure it's nice and vibrant on our blended piece. So now I'm just going to put some glue, dotting little dots of glue around the back of our happy birthday sentiment. I'm going to stick that down onto the shadow part. And that then will be ready for our pendulum part once it's all nice and dried. So here I've added some foam tape onto the back of our hill, and I've doubled up my foam tape because I want to allow the weight, my penny, to swing over and back. Now I'm just sitting that down there. I want to show you this piece will move the whole way over and the whole way back. So if you only wanted to sway or rock a little, then you'll need to add some foam tape in the back here. So I'd recommend you put some double foam tape here and another piece of double foam tape here. And that way then our penny will be able to swing between the two of those, and it will contain our swing. Otherwise it swings quite a lot. So have a look yourself when you're making yours. Now I'm using my embossing buddy bag here, and that's just to take the stickiness from around the edge of my foam tape so that my penny doesn't stick to it, and I find that helps a lot. And if you do put down your two little pieces of doubled up foam tape onto that as well, make sure you do that to those two. But it just means instead of our little white piece there going all the way down to the hill on the right and all the way down to the hill on the left, it'll actually give it a smaller rocking motion. Now onto this piece I'm adding 3 layers of foam tape, and the reason for that is because we have 2 layers on our hill. I need the extra layer so my happy birthday piece is going to sit above that. So you can see here now how much my happy birthday rocks, and if I was just putting the happy birthday on there, I would leave it like this. But because I want to put my parrot on the side, and I'm going to actually put it on the left side for a finish, if I put that on there and I don't put the little stoppers in, then the tail is going to catch on my hill and it won't sway from left to right properly. So do as I say, folks, not as I do. I didn't think to do this at this point because this is my first time. I had made some prototypes, but because of putting the parrot on with the big long tail, this is why I had the problem. So you see, when the happy birthday is rocking there, the parrot's tail will dip down, but it'll also raise up. So it's just to be aware of what you're actually using. Okay, before we do any more, I'm going to embellish the inside. Now you can see there I put a strip of the pattern paper inside. I love to do that, and it's 5 3/4 long by 3/4 of an inch deep. And I have taken a happy birthday sentiment, and this is one of Christina Griffith's, the Card Making Magic sentiment. It's one I use regularly, and I'll leave links to everything down below. So this is my happy birthday sentiment I'm stamping inside, again in the blue. And once I've that down, I know this is going to stamp really well at first time because I use it regularly. Otherwise, I'd have used a Misty. But once I've that down, I'm delighted with that. But I remembered then that there was a little parrot inside in the paper pack. And I fussy cut that little one out as well. And I thought I'm going to pop that inside. So we have a parrot on the outside and a parrot in flight on the inside. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the front of our card base. I'm going to remove the release paper off our foam tape. And once I have that all off, then I'll be able to stick that down onto the front of my card base. And I like to stand up and look directly over what I'm doing when I'm sticking these down to make sure it's nice and balanced and put down properly. So I've edited that out. I'm happy with how that's sitting on the front now. And I've that all pressed down and I love it. And you know what? If I just left it like that, I would have been very, very happy. But I want to put my parrot on the front. And remember, whatever we put onto our happy birthday sentiment here, whatever the weight is on the left, we need to balance that by adding things to the right. Otherwise, our happy birthday sentiment is going to be off at an angle because our parrot is going to weigh it down on the left. So always make sure that you balance this. So if you're putting your happy birthday sentiment down or whatever you're using, if you're putting a rainbow there or whatever you're using, if you're adding anything that's going to add a bit of weight on one side, make sure you add something to the right hand side so it's balanced. And I'll do that with some fussy cut leaves on that. So once I have my parrot stuck down and I'm happy with that, then I can work on embellishing the front of the card with my fussy cut leaves. And I'm going to add some around the sentiment, wishing you an amazing day. Lovely. So you can see there I have my leaves already put down around our sentiment there, the happy birthday sentiment, and I'm just finishing up now by adding some around our sentiment there on our hill. And there you go, there is the finished card. I've put some foam tape inside, like I told you, the two pieces to stop it from, over tilting too much. So I have a lovely, lovely little sway or tilt to the front of our card. I'm delighted with the inside. It stands up beautifully, and I think, you could do so much with this mechanism without having to have a die. So there we go, again, a little video of our finished card. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, you might consider clicking the thumbs up down below and giving my video a like. If you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. And if not, you might click the bell icon down below so you'll become a subscriber and be notified whenever I upload a new video. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Reddit. And if you make this card or use this style of mechanism, I'd love to see yours. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.